without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, get us any.
This is Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good evening out there, everyone. This is Nessp at Night with Sonja Pearson and my co-host, the one and only the Mac Man, with another edition of all of your sports needs right here on Nessp at Night. So welcome one and all, and let's get ready to start that big talk about all things sports that have happened today. Hi, Mac. Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing really good. And right away, look at that. We already got viewers in here checking in. Listen, Sonja, everything's going good. Some big NFL news. I don't know if you want to break it or you want me to break it, but it happened just about a couple hours ago, a few hours ago.
It is definitely breaking. Mac, I'm going to let you do the honors.
All right. So Dalvin Cook, who was released by the Jets, of course, they really didn't use him that much this year with Breece Hall becoming the number one running back, and he got most of the touches. So they did release him, and the Baltimore Ravens scooped in, signed him. So Dalvin Cook might be playing for a Super Bowl, first time in his career, if the Ravens go on to the Super Bowl like a lot of people are predicting they are.
And what a weapon they have picked up. A lot of people are already kind of jumping on that Ravens wings instead of bandwagon, get it? The wings of the Ravens, to say that they definitely are the Super Bowl contenders and to get themselves yet another weapon in Dalvin Cook and him playing for that. That is so amazing, especially so late in the season. So do you think that he actually is going to bring a little bit more depth to that team, or what do you think? Were they already pretty good without him?
Yeah. I think it just gives them another option. He's a big guy, right? He's got a little quickness still. He's a little older for a running back, but he's a big boy. So, if it's 3rd and 1 or, they need that goal line punching, they got him. And he's got pretty good hands in the backfield too. So if they need to throw a little quick pass out to him, maybe he picks up a first down now and then. But it's definitely another option for them and a sea of a bunch of options they got over there in Baltimore.
Well, congratulations to Dalvin Cook. That was very quick that he got swiftly picked up. And so we'll definitely be paying attention to see how that pans out for Ravens and Mr. Cook himself. Now, there's some other NFL news we're going to get to here shortly. There's been the Pro Bowls are coming up, but a lot of people are looking kind of sideways because there were some Pro Bowl snubs. Josh Allen, Antoine Winfield Jr., and others that were actually missing the cut. Can you believe Josh Allen, of all people, was snubbed from the Pro Bowl?
Josh Allen, especially in the last few weeks, really hasn't been Josh Allen, right? I mean, I don't know how the voting is. I think it's partly the fans voting too. But, I mean, Josh Allen has thrown, we all know he's thrown a lot of interceptions this year. He's a big playmaker. And there's a lot of good quarterbacks in the AFC right now. You got Patrick Mahomes, you got Jackson. We just talked about Jackson. CJ Stroud had a good year this year. I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks in the AFC. Probably, if you're going to look at a whole right now, they probably on whole got better quarterbacks in the AFC than they do in the NFC. So I'm not surprised, but maybe he can't play dodgeball that good either. That could be one of the reasons. I mean, maybe he doesn't catch the ball as well as he throws it. So, I mean, the Pro Bowl has become, Sonja, like a check on getting into the Hall of Fame, right? They really don't play the game anymore. I mean, I even watched them in flag football, and they're more physical in a flag football game than they are actually during the regular football game. Right? They'll knock each other down in flag football. So, I mean, I don't know. The Pro Bowl I haven't really watched. There's really no competition there that I want to watch. You got the MLB, their All-Star game, get the home run derby, right? That's pretty exciting. A lot of people,
Right.
that's been around forever. The NBA's got the slam dunk contest, right? And everybody wants to see who's the newest talent out there that can, jump up over the backboard and slam it in. But there's really not that one single thing that I want to watch, and that I think a lot of people want to watch, one event that really people want to see. So maybe they're going to come up with a different event, man. Tug of war really doesn't do it for me. I don't know. Sonja.
I know the Pro Bowl has made, like you noted, they have made some changes within the Pro Bowl over the years, and honestly, it has become a slight yawn fest.
Yeah.
The rules about tackling and things like that, it literally is nothing short of flag football, and akin to actually maybe youth football at that, little Dixie football or something like that. But
right.
It was noted that Josh Allen has had an up and down season, but right now with them making the playoff runs, more Bills fans specifically were thinking that they would have the opportunity to say no thank you when they were chosen, but they were not even chosen. So
right.
I don't know, the way the Pro Bowl has changed right now, I don't know if it's even that much of a mention anymore that they missed anything big. Like you said, it's more like a checklist for the Hall of Fame later down the road.
Right.
Speaking of that, the offensive and defensive players of the season, who do you think would be the offensive rookie of the year, a good nominee or two from both divisions? The close runners, I know a lot of people are talking about CJ Stroud. He's my personal favorite, him or Bijan Robinson, until Bijan kind of started not performing as well here lately. What do you think, Matt?
I agree with that. AFC picks right off the rip. I agree with both of those. I don't know if there's a defensive end or anything like that. Normally, the impact positions, right? They don't really talk about the linemen too much unless it's an edge rusher or maybe a great cornerback, wide receiver. I mean, like in the NFC, you got Anuka, right? He's got to be in the running in the NFC for Rookie of the Year. I really don't know. I mean, I would love to see a center, be the Rookie of the Year, but I don't think that's going to happen. So it's normally a high profile position. I agree with your two picks there. I think Anuka's one. I'm trying to think of another Rookie of the Year in the NFC. Maybe Adams with the Vikings. Maybe he would be one. Another wide receiver. He was pretty good with the Vikings this year, especially when their premier wide receiver went down for a while there. So that's the only two that really come to my mind right now.
Right. I feel the same way. And true to form, sometimes it just depends on what teams that these rookies have gotten with us. So it's not a reflection of their performance necessarily, but the teams they're paired with. Of course, I always kind of advocate a little bit of a plug in the Panthers. Bryce in college looked amazing, championship caliber, and then he's matched with the Panthers. And a lot of people have said, had he gone somewhere else, say with 49ers, with Kyle Shanahan's offense, even though they have Brock Purdy, he probably would be a different Bryce at the moment.
Oh,
but
sure.
Tough times he's going through, and I don't know. But yeah, okay. And you're right. Sometimes it's not all about the quarterback as we see, but it is definitely a high profile position that we've seen, kind of like with the college situation when they've talked about that as well. And we've even talked about whether or not a quarterback in the NFL should be the MVP, which was the case with Brock Purdy, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and Tua Tagovailoa was some of the ones that were most recently mentioned. However, the noise has kind of hushed around Brock and Tua with the call to action by Mr. Jackson himself, and so forth.
All it takes really, Sonja, is 1 week. If Jackson's not playing this week, so he can't have a bad game. If he did play and he threw 2 interceptions and looked terrible, he would have fell out of grace and somebody else would have jumped in there, right? Josh Allen, if he has a big, huge game against Miami, is he back in the running again? Maybe, I don't know. So it all depends on the fluency of what's going on. We're always week to week, right? It's Hurts, it's Prescott, it's Purdy, it's somebody else every week. And I would love to see somebody like a Lamar Chase or somebody like that, or
Yeah,
you know,
Jamar Chase.
a running back,
Mhm.
somebody else that would come up and maybe get some kind of notoriety, whether it's an MVP or, you know, McCaffrey was in the discussion too. I would love to see something like that. But, you know, the way it is, it's all about the quarterback. So,
And speaking of quarterbacks, we're going to talk in a moment about quarterback shopping. But for right now, I want to ask you about your opinion about the Browns. They've brought in Joe Flacco. He's performed solidly. They've had a quarterback carousel with the injury to Deshaun Watson. And some Browns fans are saying they'd like Flacco to stick around for a little bit. But then some other fans are saying it would cause more division in the locker room because some players would be more loyal to Flacco because of things that Watson has been or been not to the team. What are your thoughts about that as Watson is supposed to be returning next season?
well, I mean, you're paying this guy all that money. He's guaranteed. You got to try to start him, right? Flacco, if he's willing to, you know, go back to the bench and stay there in case Watson gets hurt, that would be a great situation for the Browns. So if I'm the Browns after the season's over, whatever happens, whether the Browns, you know, go to Super Bowl, they get knocked out the first round, I'm going to talk to Joe. I'm going to say, hey, Joe, listen, you know the situation. We're paying him, you know, $252 million guaranteed or whatever it is. And we got to play him. And I think he would understand that. He's been around a long time, but we'd love to keep you around. Maybe they sign him for, you know, instead of what he's worth right now, maybe they pay him a couple $1 million to stay around or whatever. So I'm definitely talking to Joe after the season's over, him and his agent, and trying to keep him on board with the Browns.
Now the Browns did sign Jeff Driscoll to help back up Flacco, and he's on the active roster off of the Cardinals practice squad.
Right.
And so they also had PJ Walker as their backup. And so they have quite a few quarterbacks that they're paying right now. That's why another reason why I asked, did it even make financial sense? I mean, I've heard of teams off and on having as many as 4 and 5 quarterbacks.
Sure.
And it's
At
like,
least
okay,
3
you
on the
have that
roster,
many.
right? At least you got 3 on the roster. One's a practice squad guy, you know, one's on the shelf somewhere, maybe sitting on the couch at home like Joe was, and, you know, he's just waiting for his turn. But, you know, the experience Flacco has, he can teach some of the younger quarterbacks and players here. He's a common effect, as they say, on the team. You know, I would definitely consider him an asset for next year. If I got to get rid of Driscoll, I get rid of Driscoll, you know, whatever I got to do there.
Yeah, and with them coming up with the season finale, it's going to be very important to see who they actually decide to start for that game. You know, of course, Flacco is 38 years old, but he's passed for more than 300 yards in 4 consecutive games. And if anyone had the nerve to say that he was rusty, he definitely proved otherwise in this one.
That is true.
So
That is
kudos
true.
to the Browns. Now, we know that Flacco himself, we don't know his future right now with the Browns, but we know there are a lot of other teams. This has been the year of the quarterback carousel amongst both AFC and NFC divisions, some to injury, some just due to performance. But here we are. We have several teams that are in need of a quarterback and are perusing for quarterbacks right now. Do you think Seattle is actually going to be on the market for looking for someone, since they did bench and will more than likely get rid of Russell in the spring?
I mean, yeah, I think there's quite a few teams that are gonna. I think they'll probably be like 8 quarterbacks in the first round taken. I think this is going to be quarterback heavy in the first round. Seattle can use a young guy coming in to sit behind Geno. You still got the backup that jumped in there. I'm trying to remember his name now. Played with the Broncos. He was in there for a second. Thank you. So you still got a good quarterback class there, but of course you got to look to the future. Geno's old. You know, he needs somebody to get in there behind him. They got to reboot there in Seattle. The Giants, of course, need a quarterback. The Patriots need a quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised, depending on what happens in New Orleans, if they may go and get a quarterback. Pittsburgh with Kittle. To me, I always thought that was a terrible draft. They drafted him for the wrong reason. They drafted him because he was a local hero there and played for Pitt, and that it just never worked out there with him. So there's a lot of quarterbacks that are going to be taken in the first round, if not to start right away, which some will. just to back up and learn the game. You know, the Colts still got Richardson that's going to be coming back next year, so they're pretty much set over there. He's a guy that got hurt early, so there's definitely I don't know what they're going to do in Tennessee. Do they draft another quarterback in Tennessee? They've been drafting a quarterback for the last 3 or 4 years there. Do you take a shot at Carolina and go get another quarterback? I mean, I don't know, right? So there's so many teams that are in need of young talented quarterbacks, and there's a bunch of them in college, and they'd be foolish not to go get one.
And then you think about Atlanta, who have not found their quarterback. Desmond Ritter's not sure. They've got Taylor Heineke. They're not sure. So they're in the quarterback market. But like you said, this draft is going to be heavily quarterback heavy. And in honesty, you can't go back and get another quarterback since you just took Bryce and sold the farm for him. So
right. Well, I mean, you know, maybe I don't know. I don't know what your owners think of there. I don't know who the GM is going to be. I don't really know who the head coach is going to be. I'm not sure, Sonja. Carolina's up in the air. I wouldn't. That would surprise me what they did. Commanders are going to be losing a coach at the end of the year. They're probably going to want to get another quarterback, especially when you get a new GM. The Chicago has had a long historic problem with their GM, their coach, and their quarterback. Trubisky takes them to playoffs. They get rid of him. The coach gets fired. The GM gets. I mean, Chicago. Hopefully, they've got it together. They don't do something stupid with Justin Fields. They keep him. He's a talented kid. He's got a big ceiling. Hopefully, they don't do something stupid. Hopefully, they keep the GM and the head coach in place. Get some stability there. That is so important for not only a quarterback, for the team to have stability at the top. If you don't, you just keep changing things. And things like what's happened with the Broncos come up. When you bring in a new coach, then all of a sudden now Russell Wilson and the NFLPA may be suing them because they tried to take away, bench him during the time he was out. And they couldn't do that. There's so many different things that happen when the top is not together. And that's what's happened with the Jets. That's what's happened with a lot of teams. And you got to get that right before you can even get your team right.
And you're right, because like you mentioned, the Steelers, when Mason Rudolph his entire career was with the Steelers. And he was drafted in 2018 out of Oklahoma State, never got along with Roethlisberger. I remember when he came in, Roethlisberger retired. And then the Steelers turned around and drafted Kenny Pickett. And then signed Mitch Trubisky. So they overlooked their own draft pick. He never received much of a chance in training camp despite open competition. And so it's rumored that he probably will be looking to find a new home should the Steelers not make the playoffs. Especially, I don't really blame him at this point. So because he's gotten a raw deal. And let's just say hi real quick. Hello, Erlene, and hello, Anissa. My two sisters are tuning in tonight, one in Virginia and one in North Carolina. So thank you guys for tuning in.
There you go.
As always, please share.
Yeah, there you go. So Sonja, the Steelers are interesting too, right? They get rid of a defensive coach, an offensive coach. They got position coaches there. Are they going to get rid of Pickett? I mean, there's so many questions there right now that, again, I think what the problem is who is the GM there? How does he get along with Tomlin? How is Tomlin working, with those coaches? A lot of swirl, even though the Steelers are doing great this year. They got a shot to make the playoffs again. There's still shaky stuff going on with there.
Yeah, Omar Khan is their general manager, and he's actually out of Louisiana, but that's going to be very important to see how those two mesh going forward, because he's been with the Steelers since 2001 when he was their operations coordinator. And he stayed there until 2011 when he was promoted to director of football administration, and then so on and so on. And they just made him general manager in 2022. So he's been with the organization for quite a while. So he has a tenure. So he clearly has a relationship with Tomlin, who's been there, I believe, for about 15 seasons himself.
Right. Okay. So
yeah. So I don't know. It's just it's up in the air. And like you said, it seems like the more we talk about it, the more people need quarterbacks, the more teams are actually looking. And honestly, everyone thought Will Levis was going to be the solution for Tennessee until he started throwing bombs all over the place. And then we realized, okay, this was a quick band-aid for the situation, and now the band-aid is popped off and the wound is open and we're back to where we were.
Yeah.
And some teams have just been in rebuild mode, seems like for at least the last 5 seasons. Where does it stop, you know?
Yes, yeah, exactly. And that's all in, that's all in giving a coach their chance to change the culture. Teams want to win right now. The fan base wants to win right now. They don't want to hear it's going to take 3 or 4 years. They don't want to hear that. But that's the way it is to build a team. That's the way it's always been. That's why the Steelers were so good for so long. That's why the Patriots were so good for so long. That's why the Giants back in the 80s had a strong team. The Eagles were good for so long. The Redskins, I can go on. But these teams gave their coaches a shot to build, change the culture, draft their guys, put their guys in place, and then finally play them. And they continue drafting. That's how it works. Fans don't want to hear that anymore. They want to, well, how come we're the Panthers? We're 1 and whatever, and next year maybe we're 2. We don't want that. Get rid of the coach. This is how fans think, and that's not how it works when you're building a program.
It seems kind of difficult. I can only speak for myself as a Panthers fan. When you are getting rid of things like you can never consistently keep one person. Like, okay, this year we're getting rid of the quarterback. Next year we're getting rid of the coach. Next year we're getting rid of the owner. Then it's like, okay, that's 3 seasons right there of inconsistency. Now you think you're starting, from scratch, and you're going to need that rebuild time. But then there's still an imbalance in management. There's still an imbalancing with the other teammates that you already have. When you need an O-line, when you need wide receivers, you need good running backs that you're not wearing down the only 2 running backs you have the entire time. You need to have someone that's on the practice squad or somewhere that can kind of go ahead and be ready to congeal and get up for that team. It's very difficult. And I'm just going to say, me personally, the Panthers have been on a decline since the Super Bowl run. I mean, we've gradually watched them lose more and more games. It's literally like you could consistently look at the trend.
And if you think about it, Sonja, it's not just the GM and head coach, because the head coach normally is responsible for the relationships with his coordinators, right? So, if Pittsburgh's losing their coordinators, if the Eagles are losing their coordinators, Dallas has able to keep their defensive guy there. The defensive guy's been there, and he keeps staying. Wink Martindale is very important for the Giants to hold on to Wink Martindale for another couple of years. I mean, you've got to keep your staff together too, because a lot of time when these head coaches leave, they take their assistants and position coaches with them, and it destroys the whole organization. So it's very important that the head coach has say in who they keep, and that the GM backs them up and ownership backs them up to make sure that they continue to give these guys a chance to be the coach here, whether it's give them a raise or whatever, so that they don't leave. And again, this is all a part about building a team.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. And I don't know. I mean, we talk about shakeups across the board. What do you think about Seattle and Pete Carroll? I know one time he's on the warm seat and another time he's not. But Seattle this year again, what do you think? They have Geno Smith, but you said he's actually getting older. Do you see Pete hanging in there for another season and chasing another championship possibility?
I think Pete could stay almost as long as he wants. He is probably one of the most he's physically fit. He's mentally fit. He runs up and down the sidelines. I don't see any coaches running up and down the sidelines like he does. He works out constantly. The players love to play for this guy. He can make the hard decisions like he did with Russell Wilson. He's on top of his game, and I think if you Bill Belichick's not on the treadmill like Pete is every day.
Right.
And, these coaches don't do this. So he takes good care of himself. As I said, he's a big cheerleader for the players. He'll be hard when he has to, but you see him, he's always encouraging the players. He's great to play for. I think if Seattle let Pete Carroll go, they're crazy, because I think there's 5 or 6 teams that would scoop him up in a minute. So yeah, Pete Carroll, I think, is a lot. He's a lot like he's a lot like Tomlin. He was a lot like Belichick was. I think he leaves when he's ready to leave. I think that's what happens with him.
Plus, he has the freshest breath in the NFL. So
he
got a little Pete, and he's got to go ahead and get that Wrigley's endorsement coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, switching gears here, let's talk a little bit about NBA, Mac. I mean,
Okay.
this is the time of year that's really kicking off really fast now. It's kind of been in a slow motion and it's slowly speeding up now that we're winding up with another sport. But the first thing that I want to talk about is there is a report of disconnect between the Lakers in the locker room and Coach Darvin Ham. What is going on with the Lakers?
Well, they got the coach killer over there. You know who he is. He's left a trail of coaches wherever he's been. I mean, they've called him that. He has a lot of influence on who's hired, who's fired, and like I said before, I mean, they just won the inter championship cup there. I don't know why they're sweating it right now, but no, LeBron James demands a certain type of team, and he's got a lot of influence in the Lakers. He had a lot of influence in Cleveland and Miami. I mean, I can go on and on. Every team he's been with, if him and the coach don't get along or don't see eye to eye, the owner normally picks LeBron James. And whether that's right or wrong, Jack Hirsch, my co-host, hates LeBron as far as that goes. He calls him the coach killer too. But I think LeBron knows basketball. He knows how to win. We know that. He knows the game. I just don't think he takes responsibility when the players he chooses to come there don't play right. I mean, who did he want last year? He wants an older guy that plays just like him, a little bit smaller, going to be a Hall of Famer. But guess what? It doesn't match there. But he doesn't take responsibility for those kind of moves. If the player doesn't work out that he wants, and he has enough power to go out and get those players, he doesn't take responsibility. He blames the coach. And when it works out, he'll take all the credit. So there is a line where, yeah, I did this good, and it's your fault if it doesn't work out. That's not right. So LeBron James, to me, if you want to be the coach, LeBron, be a player coach. Bill Russell did it. They won. I mean, do that, if that's what you want. So I don't know what you feel about LeBron James. Unbelievable what he's been doing at this age, Sonja. But, does he route his welcome or does he just push on and just leave the staffs, in destruction when he leaves?
Well, I'm not personally a LeBron fan, but I will say just on paper, he does look good. I don't like when people compare him to Jordan because I believe there's no comparison. But I call him LeBum, and it's because of his attitude. I feel like he can be self-centered because of all the things he has accomplished. We remember him coming into the league. I think he was the McDonald's Player of the Year, like all of that stuff. It was really, really big. And I feel like he's had a sense of entitlement his entire adult life. And he may, for one reason or another, not even know how to behave otherwise. And I feel like he is the coach killer. I feel like he does try to dominate the locker room in every situation he's in. We saw how he played alongside teammates in Cleveland, left there because of an alleged incident with his mom and one of his teammates. That right there, to me, showed me, okay, this guy's into himself so much that he would bounce and bail on his team and go elsewhere than to just stick it out and support his supposedly home city. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like that same behavior has carried over. Here we are 20 years later. He's physically unable to play as he did as a youth, which we all are going to be different than we were 20 years ago physically, no matter how much we work out. I think he's hung around the league just to basically bring Bronny up to show everyone that, hey, I've got a mini me that I'm cultivating and making the whole world see that this is part two of, LeBron James. And I feel like he's overstayed his welcome as far as that goes because he's so toxic to locker rooms that the true talent that was there has been limited because of his behavior. I feel like he's not as bad as Draymond as far as the anger issues, but mental wise, the attitude is very similar.
I would not disagree with any of that. You listen, smart man's made a billionaire, doesn't have to play basketball if he didn't really want to. I still think he loves the game, even at this age. And I think it's personal too with his son, coming up to play. I think he wants to play at least 1 year with his son. And that will be, then maybe he calls it quits.
Right. And speaking of other long tenured players, Ricky Rubio, they made an agreement today and he's out. after I think it was 12 years that he's
Yeah.
been with the league.
Yes.
Spanish basketball point guard. You know, he was with Cleveland this last season. He's only 33 though, but he's announcing his retirement from the Cavs, and the Cavs bought him out. What are your thoughts on that? He said he's going to be working on his mental health, in fact.
Yeah, that's another player with that reminds me of the Philadelphia 76ers all over again, right? So, there has I guess, to play any sport, you got to have thick skin, right? You can't, as a professional athlete, you can't let people get to you. You can't let the media get to you. And if you're going to participate in the media and twittering and all this stuff, you're out of your mind, right? You got to have thick skin. Pags, he'll when he goes to a game, he'll try to get under the player's skin and he'll do chants and all that stuff to try to throw them off their game. Some he can, some he can't. And the ones he can't are the ones that will laugh it off and I'll show you kind of thing. And they don't get upset by being hounded in a way. So if he needs to take time off, take time off. And no matter how good the basketball is in the other leagues, the NBA is still probably the toughest professional basketball league to play in. And over here they're not as civil, maybe, or maybe it's the industry itself. Maybe it's the press and the media and the constant badgering. I don't know. But if that's what he needs to do, hey, good luck to him, man. He was a star in Spain, that's for sure. That guy was unbelievable in international basketball.
Yeah, he definitely was. And you have to give kudos to people who are actually working on mental health type stuff, because for a while that was kind of stigmatized across all sports platforms. And now with the things that we've seen with Aaron Hernandez, supposedly with that situation, and of course the awareness of CTE, and basketball players themselves, like you said, they're way more aggressive and more difficult to play in that league than any other sport. They too have to probably have some injuries that are not always discussed. And so he's going to be leaving to work on his mental health. We are looking to see if he's going to come back or anything. I mean, what do you think? Do you think he'll return, or do you think that's probably going to be it for him?
I don't know. If he does return, I wouldn't be surprised. He goes back to an international league and maybe plays in Spain some more, where it's a little bit more laid back and he has that, support back home. I'm not sure what kind of support he has here either, because, no matter what, who you bring with you, what your entourage is, I imagine some of these players when they come over here get homesick too, right? I mean, I know if we went somewhere and we started playing there, we don't really know nobody, and we're trying to make a living over there. And no matter what industry you work in, I imagine it's hard not having your family and your old friends with you. So maybe he goes back to international and plays in Spain, or maybe he just coaches or something. I would imagine he loves the game. So I don't think he's done with basketball altogether. I just think this part of it, of his chapter in the United States is kind of closed right now.
Right. And he's from Spain, and he actually said this all began last summer. There was an incident back on July 30th where he was supposed to be playing in an FIBA World Cup that summer for his home country in Spain. And he just had a really tough night, darkest night of his life. He referenced it. And he said his mind went to a really dark place, leading him to pause his career the next day. And so he has not really played since August 5th, which was when he had this mental health break. So we definitely wish Rubio the very best. And you're right, he probably will be playing over for Spain. It's got to be extremely difficult when you're not from an area. You have no community, no ties whatsoever. And then, you probably have to think about a little bit, there may be a language barrier for all intents and purposes. So that's another thing that adds to your separation when you are not able to communicate effectively with those around you. So,
well, you saw Sonja when the Tomomako came over, the pitcher, he wanted to go be with Japanese players, right? The Red Sox had one, and of course he ended up playing with Ohtani, but there's somebody that has something in common with him. He can talk to him. He can hang out with him. And if you go to a team that doesn't have these, as you said, the language barrier. I remember when I'm trying to remember oh my God, for the Yankees, the right fielder for the Yankees, or left fielder for the Yankees, Godzilla was there, and he was bragging about his, I should say, but he was bragging about his porno collection, right? His porno collection.
Mm-hmm.
And over here, we're like, what is wrong with you? That's not something to brag about.
Right.
But over in Japan, that's something they brag about, right? So that's how different it is from one country to another.
Cultural.
So,
Mm-hmm.
this is something that, the way they think about things are different over in different countries.
Mm-hmm.
The way they live is different. So it was really important for Tom. It didn't hurt that it was Otani either, but Tamamoko, he wanted to be with the Japanese players that played for his team. It was one of the most important things about it, more important than the money, he said.
Right, and he brought him right along with him. So that team is going to be looking dynamite with those two together. When you can gel with someone who has a lot in common, especially culturally, that has to be a double win for both of those. And like you said, it was not just about the money. So congrats to both of those guys. Now, the Nets are fined $100,000. It doesn't seem like a lot, but they were fined $100,000 for violating the NBA players' participation policy. The NBA launched an investigation into the December 27th Bucks-Nets game and found 4 Nets rotation players could have played in the game. Now, we've seen the same thing happen with the Atlanta Falcons when they did not list that Bijan should have been on the injury report, and he came in, said he had a headache, and did not play. And so they were fined as well. We see this a lot with sports. Is it a lack of deliberately? Is it because they're deliberately doing it, or is it a lack of really knowing if your players are well enough to actually enter the game?
I mean, how can you find this out? I mean, Dumars, I get it, right? The fans, this whole started because fans were complaining, right? They buy this one ticket to go see LeBron come in and play in their court. LeBron doesn't play. So, and they pay for LeBron to come there and play. I mean, that ticket goes up because the Lakers come into town. LeBron's paying. So we want to go see LeBron. LeBron sits on the bench or doesn't show up. So the fans start getting ticked off and they start, sending letters to the NBA. So it was important for the NBA to say, hey, listen, if you can, at least play these guys as long as you can. But how can you prove to somebody that, hey, these 5 players are hurt or they're not hurt? Do you need a doctor's note? I mean, what is I don't understand what this is. And if I'm a coach and 5 of my players are hurt, guess what? I'm probably not playing them, whether you like it or not. So fine me if you want, Sonja. You know what I mean? So, I mean, right. How do you know it's true or not? I mean, I think this is an unprovable thing. I think the NBA is going to make a lot of money off this. I don't know what they're doing with the money. And I guarantee you, Sonja, the reason why they did this is because of betting, right? Because if you don't know these guys, that you don't know they're injured or they are injured, they don't tell you or they don't play. Well, that affects the odds of the game. It's all about the betting. We can say what we want. It's all about gambling when it comes down to it. So I don't know. All I know as a coach, and my 5 starting players are hurt, I'm not playing them. I'm sorry, I'm not going to get them. I'm not going to risk all of them getting injured. So
right, and even if they're not hurt, it could be just like a really bad headache. Like we saw Jalen Hurts play with flu-like symptoms. That had to really take a toll on him. He took a separate flight and everything to play with his teammates and was wearing a mask and all the footage we saw except on the field. And he still played. And you can imagine, you and I'm not playing like that, but just when we're feeling unwell, we just want to stay in bed and get better. But these guys are paid millions of dollars. And like you said, at the end of the day, it's a bet. And how do you know if it's game time and you wake up and you're sick? You have a stomach ailment. Like there has to be something in place that certain ailments can be excluded from this.
And you saw how Hurts played at the end of that game too. At the end of the game, he was tired. He couldn't do what he did in the beginning. So again, when you let gambling, when you let the genie out of the bottle, you can't put him back in. So the NFL, all sports have opened themselves up to this kind of stuff where you're affecting Vegas and you're going to have to. That's a lot of money coming in. You're going to have to pretty much perform for Vegas. So.
Right. And at some point it feels like Vegas is pulling the puppet strings across the board. Let's just be honest on that one.
Sure.
They really are. It's like make or break.
I mean,
All right.
I'm old enough, and you are too, Sonja, where, did you ever imagine a professional team playing in Las Vegas? We never thought that would happen. That was like that was like the Antichrist, right? Nobody
Yes.
wanted anything to do with Vegas. They're going to fix the games. They're going to do this. The bookies are getting arrested. I mean, this was never supposed to happen. Now you got 4 sports teams that are going to be playing in Vegas, and never thought this would happen.
And the Oakland Athletics are coming there. As a matter of fact, they said they're going to be tearing down Tropicana, which is one of the oldest hotels on the Strip. And they're going to be building a stadium that should be up by 2028 that would seat between 30 and 33,000 for the Oakland Athletics. So it's like, wow, like they literally are relocating all of the Oakland teams, looks like, to Vegas. And I cannot even fathom. I've been to Vegas a few times. This stadium is going to be where Tropicana is. That's just unreal for me to think about.
Sure. Even if you ask Jack Hurst if he ever thought this would happen, he'd laugh. No one ever thought this would happen. I mean, they had the boxing matches in Vegas, which made sense because boxing is fixed, right? So that's what everybody thinks.
Right.
Right. That's what everybody thinks. So anyway, so that made sense. But the rest of this stuff, we never thought that would happen. And it adds fuel to fire. All these referees making bad calls. What's going on? Is it rigged? I mean, this is going to be from now on, Sonja.
Yes, all referees, they were worried about players' conduct, which sadly was reflected in Henry Ruggs, because Vegas is basically, you can have alcohol everywhere. No holds barred. When you rent a car out there, they say basically you're on your own because everybody can drink and drive or do whatever out there. So everything is legal in Vegas, everything.
Yes,
so
that
definitely was an issue with bringing sports there. But hey, the bookies and all that stuff is just, it's all looped in at this point. Maybe that's where Vegas wanted it, because that way they have total control, and we see that as we speak.
Makes sense.
Yeah, we're going to switch gears just a little bit more and plug into some college a little bit. About an hour ago, ESPN broke the news that Oklahoma State's quarterback, get this, Mac, Alan Bowman is getting his 7th year of eligibility. Now, let's be clear, Mac. A lot of players got extra eligibility with COVID, but 7 years, what is he 30 yet? He has to be 30.
Close, right? Close. He'll be married and have kids, and on a salary he makes, you might be able to afford him too. I mean, college football. I've never told you this, Sonja, but about a year ago, and I saw the NCAA was falling apart, and that the SEC was getting bigger, and I knew the NCAA it's done for all intents and purposes. You're gonna have one major division with different divisions in there, and it's all gonna be SEC, and they can call it whatever they want, but that's basically what it's gonna be.
They are. Everybody's moving there.
And when the NIL came about, and I was talking to Jack, and I said, something, that's free agency, isn't it? I mean, you go out and you can almost demand what you want to go somewhere. And Jack said, yeah. I said, when are they going to start having a high school draft? When is the colleges actually going to start drafting high school players? And, it's going to be the same as the pros now. You have to sign a contract. You have to play there for at least the amount of the contract, and then you can move wherever you want. And everybody laughed at me. Everybody's saying, crazy, man. That's never going to happen. Well, I'll tell you, the way things are going, you're making $5 million a year playing college, and you can move wherever you want, but there's no contracts yet. And that's going to be the next thing in college football. You're going to come in, you're going to sign a contract. You're going to have to play there for so many years. So basically, it's the NFL. That's what it's going to end up being. So why not? Let's do it. Let's go 100% in. Keith Angle thought I was nuts. He doesn't think I'm so crazy now. But at the time, he thought I was crazy. But listen, why not? Go all the way through. Have one commissioner, and the teams break them up and make them like owners. Each conference, draft them, free agency, let the college players have a union. Let's do it. Let's just do it and get it over with.
And you're so right. Like I'm like, this is just, they need to have the NFL and then the NFL juniors. Like that's pretty much it. And you're right. The SEC is going to literally swallow everybody up. That's the pristine division of the whole football world. Them, the Big Ten, the Pac-10, all of them. You got Texas and everybody they coming over with the Red River rivalry. They got to bring over their rival with them as well. So this is the first playoffs though that we don't have an SEC team in the playoffs in 2015.
And guess what? That's not going to happen again. Trust me. That will never happen again. This is the last time you'll see it. SEC is going to have all the teams. I think who's going? Ohio State. What team's going over there right now? They're suing.
That are coming over to the SEC.
Yeah, they're suing to
so
get the
it was so it was let's see. I remember that the teams that were supposed to be coming over for this year is the teams that's coming over. It looks like it was going to be Oklahoma and Texas.
Right. They're definitely coming over. But there was
they're coming over, and it's going to make it a 16-team league. And I thought they were talking about some others. You said someone is suing.
Oh, was it Ohio State? One of them is, but I know Ohio State's going to be there soon. Michigan is going to end up going there. Wow. Clemson will end up going. You watch all these teams; they're going to want to play in a competitive division. This is where all the kids are going to want to go to SEC teams. They're not going to care about the Pac-10. They want to be seen on TV. They want to be playing at a level where they can go play professional football. Every kid that plays at these big schools is not there for an education. We got to stop thinking that they're there to go on to play other sports, whether it's Duke and basketball, whether it's Georgia and the NFL. This is the stopover for them. This is where they're going to go to play professional football. And if the money's good enough, they'll stay in college till they're whatever age they are. They may not be good enough to be a professional football quarterback. As you said, some are good college quarterbacks. They'll stay there and they'll make plenty of money.
And like you said, because some of them will not be able to make it in the NFL, they better just get all the coins while they can. Sure. For one reason or another, some performance, some behavioral issues that we've seen with some top players that get into the NFL and just simply cannot handle that much power and fame, and they just fall subception to everything going on. What are your thoughts? I saw that Colorado, I know they were the big hype this last season with Deion Primetime coming. It was a star-studded affair with rappers almost at every game. Dwayne Rock Johnson was there until they lost about 5 in a row. Then it was a slippery slope, and the shades were off. Deion wasn't wearing the glasses anymore. And ever since they met up with those Ducks and they talked about them playing for clicks and likes, it was like they pulled their card and that was it. But looks like Deion is trying again. He had Ocho Cinco begging him for a job. He told Chad Ochocinco, hey, you're not disciplined enough. You won't come. You won't be here when I need you to be here. So no, but I'll let you be an analyst. Then he goes out and supposedly is getting Warren Sapp. Yes. He's getting Warren Sapp, and I saw somewhere Ray Lewis. And I'm like, okay, here we go again. Is this just another big production? Your own son is out there doing commercials during halftime. Tom Brady gets on him about having to, look at the playbook and looking at film instead of out here doing name and likeness advertisements for your clothing line. I mean, it's wild out there in Colorado.
Look at how much attention has Colorado got, right? I haven't heard about Colorado like in 20 years, right? All of a sudden, Colorado's on everybody's mind. Listen, Deion is a how do you want to put it? He's like a controlled war out there. He's a controlled energy, right? That it's ready to break out any minute. Listen, Deion knows how to play the game, and Deion's going to get that school turned around. I guarantee you, in the next few years, they're going to be a top 10 team. And whether he stays there or not, he would be smart to. I think it's smart to be a college coach. You can make more money. You can, you can teach kids instead of out there trying to, bat heads with pros and men. Right. So I mean, you got a chance to shape him. But I think Deion is overall a good person. He's very respectful to reporters. He's not loud and carries on, and he does teach certain things to the kids that I used to teach in high school. He's still teaching them today. So I do respect him in that way. Is he part of the problem with the NIL and all that? Maybe. I'll guarantee you one thing. If he coached Florida State, guess where Florida State would have been playing? They've been playing in the national championship this year. There's no doubt about it. They would have been in the top 4. So he does have a lot of power. But, hey, Colorado's on the map again. Good for him. Good for Colorado.
Yeah, I feel like with the passion he brings to the sport and then all of his entertainment, I feel like he's gonna definitely get it done. I would have rather seen the celebration after he got about at least halfway through the season, but according to Colorado fans, they had only won like one or two. So when he won that third game, it was just like, okay, great. Like this is all we really care about because we've won more games than we did before without him. So good luck to him and whoever he decides to get with that coaching staff. Looks like LSU let go of all of their defensive coordinators.
Yeah. I mean, what happens if the defense stinks again next year? What are they going to let go of then? I never liked Jim Kelly, even as a Notre Dame coach. He had some success with him. I never liked him. It was always all about him and not about the school. I think he's the same way now. He's a poor man. Jim Harbaugh. I mean, he wants all the attention and all the credit. He's an okay coach, right? He's okay, but with independent with Notre Dame, he had a chance to stand out. Now he's just another SEC coach, and I think he has no idea what to do now. So they fire all the defensive coaches. If the offense stinks next year, they fire all the offensive coaches, and if the team stinks next year, then he gets fired. That's probably what will happen.
Yeah, it's definitely that. And with, that going on, the transfer portal closed yesterday. It's a lot going on in college football.
Wait a minute, they closed the portal? What the hell happened?
That's what they're saying. They're saying on College Football HQ is saying that what happens now is the 2024 college football transfer portal winter window. So it's just a winter window. Let's be clear on that.
So
winter window is closed. They had more than 2,100 players entered their names into the transfer portal as of late yesterday. And they said that the number is going to continue to increase when the window reopens in the spring into mid-April. So I didn't know they have different transfer portal windows, but looks like this one is closing for the winter. Did you know about that?
No, the NIL was supposed to give other teams that weren't, Alabamas and the Georgias and these teams a chance because the third string quarterback wasn't going to play for Oklahoma. And so he can go to another school. He's got talent like a couple did, like Jalen Hurts, for example. They can move, right? But what it's done is made the other team stronger because your best guy on your team now wants to go play for Alabama or wants to go play for, a big team. So it's kind of worked in reverse. At first it sounded good, but now my best player is now leaving for Clemson, and so it's kind of worked in reverse on him, and it was set up to try to even it out, but it hasn't. So there's always a way around something.
Yeah, and they actually said that they only gave them 30 days with the winter draft as opposed to the normal 45 days. So you're right. It's some new thing that NCAA has come up with. And to kind of limit, and then they're going to reopen, I guess, in March through April for supposedly spring transfer portal people.
Well, there you go.
Now,
there's different portal people.
Yeah, I know we only have a couple of minutes left here, but I do want to kind of wrap up with Michael Penix Jr. A lot of people are talking about him right now. He's playing really, really big. Where the experts have the Washington quarterback going in the 2024 NFL mock drafts. What do you think? What are your thoughts on him going into the draft? First of all, what are your thoughts with him performance-wise for this big game we have coming up? And then the part two of that would be
it's going to be tough.
NFL.
You're going to get a defense that blitzes and has a lot of speed. They're going to put tons of pressure on him. He's got to make the big throws. He's going to have to take some big hits. If he can do that and he can make big throws and while getting popped in his face, Washington's got a chance. I think Penix is a good quarterback. They're talking like he's going to be the number one pick. It's going to depend again, like with the MVP, Sonja. I think if Penix throws 3 interceptions and looks terrible, he's going to drop down a little bit, right? If he wins the national championship, he's the first draft. There's no doubt about it. But if he has a bad performance and overthrows some wide open guys and gets sacked 6 times and throws 3 interceptions and fumbles the ball, all of a sudden, he's not that good anymore, which is going to be a true falsehood, right? Because one game shouldn't judge you. but it will. So
It's
it's
your
all
most recent game.
yes, it's all up again, like you said, it's all up to Washington. If it's a high scoring game, Washington has a chance. But you saw what Michigan did against Penn State, right? They ran the ball every play, and they could do that against
Down their
Washington.
throat.
They could do that against Washington and just control the clock the whole game. And they do have some weapons passing too. I think that Michigan's defense is better than the Washington's offense, and I definitely think the Michigan's offense is better than the Washington defense. I hope it's not a blowout. I hope Penix gets some time and he at least keeps it close and maybe get lucky, get a couple breaks and wins the game because I'm rooting for Washington.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are, and because we got a lot of Michigan, I don't want to say haters, but non-likers. And JJ McCartney came out on record and was like, hey, 80% of the other teams still signs too, including Ohio State. And he still doesn't know why Harbaugh was punished. But to that end, they're saying that Michigan caught a bad one because people just hate Michigan in general. But it's all about talent, and we'll definitely see who's going to get the best of that. We'll talk about that again tomorrow night when we join you guys again at the same time, right here on this same station. Mac, you got any closing thoughts for us?
It's been fun these last few days. Friday will be fun. Glad we got some comments out there. Tell your friends. Don't be afraid to comment on a show. You may say something that we totally forgot to say or think about. It helps drive the show. It's your personal sports network. Always remember that we're here. The show is here for you. Sonja's here for you. I'm here for you. So don't be afraid to comment. Robert Butler's up right after us, followed by Captain Jack, the old salty pirate. And no Cowboy jersey here. I'll tell you that. And
Matt, where's your Cowboys jersey?
I have a Giant jersey.
Yeah,
I have a
He's
Giant
Giants
jersey.
fan.
Yeah, that's right. That's okay. The Cowboys are what they are. But anyway, after Captain Jack, we got Sneaky G and talk about the Giants. He talks about the Giants all the time. So you guys.
That's right. It's been a great show. Thanks again, Mac, for joining me tonight. I'll see you tomorrow night. And good night, everyone. Thanks for joining us right here on NESSP with Sonja and Mac tonight. Have a good night.
Have a good one, folks.
This is Northeast Streaming Sports.
All right, Sonja.